One day, your heart is going to beat for the very last time. It's the one appointment that none of us can cancel, and yet almost nobody actually knows what happens next. Not in the spiritual sense, but in the physical one. What actually goes on, second by second, inside a body and a brain as they shut down? The honest answer is stranger, slower, and a lot less final than you'd think. Here's the first surprise. We talk about death like it's a switch. Alive, and then in a single instant, not. But biologically, death isn't a moment at all. It's a process. For most of human history, the line was simple. When your heart stopped, you were dead. But then, we invented ways to restart a stopped heart. Chest compressions, defibrillators, and suddenly, people were crossing back over that line and coming home. So the definition had to move. Today, the real boundary isn't the heart at all. It's the brain. You are not your heartbeat. You are the activity humming inside your skull. So to really understand death, we have to follow what happens up there. Let's start the clock at the moment the heart stops. The instant your blood stops pumping. It stops carrying oxygen, and your brain is an absolute fuel hog. It's only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns through nearly a fifth of all the oxygen you take in. And it keeps almost no reserves of its own. So within roughly 10 seconds of the blood stopping, the brain runs out of fuel, and consciousness simply switches off. That's it. About 10 seconds. It's the very same reason a person faints when blood can't reach their head. The lights just go out. From the inside, there's likely no pain and no drama, just a quiet fading. But the brain doesn't fall completely silent right away. And this is where it gets eerie. When scientists have recorded the electrical activity of a dying brain, they have sometimes caught something nobody expected. A final surge, a sudden burst of the same kind of brain waves we use for memory, for dreaming, for deep concentration. Sweeping through, right at the very end. Some researchers think this might be the brain replaying itself, which would mean that the oldest cliché about dying, your whole life flashing before your eyes, might not be a metaphor at all. It might be a real physical event. The last thing the brain does could be to remember. We can't ask anyone what it felt like, but the data quietly hints that the final moments of a mind may be vivid, not blank. Now here's the part that breaks the whole idea of a clean, simple line. When consciousness switches off, the cells of the brain are not dead yet. They're starving. But starving is not the same as gone. For a few precious minutes, those cells can still be saved if oxygen comes rushing back. This is the gray zone, the strange window where a person is clinically dead. No heartbeat, no breath, no awareness, and yet can still, sometimes, be pulled back. It's the reason chest compressions work. It's why someone can be dead for several minutes and then return with their memories, their personality, their whole self, completely intact. As long as the structure is still there, the you is still recoverable. In those minutes, death is a door that simply hasn't finished closing. In fact, there are people who have been pulled from icy lakes with no pulse and no breath for more than half an hour, clinically, undeniably dead, and then slowly warmed, restarted, and walked out of the hospital days later with their minds completely intact. The freezing cold had slowed their cells almost to a stop and held that door open far longer than anyone would have thought possible. Emergency doctors even have a grim little rule about it. You're not dead until you're warm and dead. But the oxygen has to come back fast. After several minutes without it, the brain cells begin to break down for good. That delicate web of connections, the one that quietly held every memory, every habit, every version of who you are, starts to come apart. And once that web is gone, it is gone. You can restart a heart. You cannot rebuild a mind from scratch. This is the true point of no return. Not the moment the heart stopped, but the moment the brain can no longer be brought back. Doctors call it brain death, and it is the line that modern medicine draws as the real end of a person. And here's something strange about that line. It is surprisingly new. For thousands of years, a stopped heart and stilled breath were the only signs of death that anyone ever needed. It was only in 1968, once machines existed that could keep a body breathing indefinitely, that a committee at Harvard had to sit down and define for the very first time what it actually means for the brain itself to be gone. We had built tools that could blur the line between living and dead, so we were forced to draw a brand new one. Strangely, the body can sometimes be kept running on machines long after this, but the someone who lived inside it is already gone. This is also, very likely, where some of those famous near-death experiences come from. People revived out of that gray zone often describe the very same things: a deep sense of peace, a tunnel, a bright light, a feeling of looking down at their own body. We don't understand all of it yet, but a brain that is low on oxygen and firing off its final surges is a brain doing deeply unusual things. And those unusual things may be exactly what those experiences are made of. It's not proof of an afterlife, and it's not proof against one. It's just a glimpse of what a mind does at its very edge. And underneath all of this sits a strange and beautiful question. What are you, really? Because you are not actually the atoms in your body. Those are being swapped out and replaced constantly. The you of a decade ago is built from almost entirely different material than the you of today. What stays the same is the pattern, the particular way your brain is wired, the arrangement that holds your memories, your habits, your sense of being yourself. You are not the stuff. You are the pattern in the stuff. And death, in the end, is simply what happens when that pattern can no longer hold itself together. So, put it all together, and the picture that comes out is gentle and a little bit astonishing. Death is not a wall you slam into. It's a fade. The heart, then consciousness, then one last surge, then the slow closing of a door that for a few short minutes is still open. And here is the thought worth actually sitting with. Right now, as you watch this, your brain is doing the rarest thing in the known universe. It is firing. It is aware. It is you, assembled for one improbable stretch of time out of stardust and electricity, and somehow able to wonder about its own ending. That won't last forever, which is exactly what makes it priceless. So don't sleepwalk through it. The lights are on right now. Use them. If you like sitting with big questions like this one, subscribe and stick around. I'm Ponder, and I'll see you next time. If your brain just lit up with questions, wait until you hear this one. Next up, déjà vu. Why does your brain keep insisting you have lived this exact moment before?